A fierce rivalry sparks the moment our two star-crossed players meet. Ilia is leaning against the wall, cigarette in hand, when Shane walks up and introduces himself. The moment is awkward, made worse by the fact that Ilia's team has just lost their hockey game. It's not exactly a great first impression. Months later, fate throws them back into the same orbit. Shane signs with Montreal, while Ilia joins their biggest enemies, the Boston Raiders. Ilia quickly earns a reputation as the league's menace. Loud, fearless, always trash-talking like nothing can touch him. Shane, on the other hand, is the quiet rookie. Careful and disciplined, carrying the heavy weight of his mother's expectations on his shoulders. They meet again at a gym, where competition takes over immediately. They push themselves harder and harder on the treadmills, each refusing to quit first until both of them finally give out. Breathless and laughing, they end up sharing a bottle of water. The tension between them is obvious, thick enough to feel, but nothing happens. Not yet. 6 months pass before things finally shift. They're paired together for a commercial shoot, and Ilia personally asks for Shane. He wastes no time flirting, boldly asking for Shane's room number. That night becomes their first time together. Shane is still deeply closeted and terrified of being exposed, but Ilia's confidence draws him in. Ilia treats everything like a game, and Shane finds himself charmed despite his fear. Meanwhile, the media spins a brutal rivalry narrative, painting them as enemies fighting for dominance at the top of the league. They're scheduled for a joint interview meant to fuel the drama. Instead of talking trash, they secretly brush feet beneath the table, barely holding it together. Once the cameras shut off, they fall right back into each other's arms. Since this is Shane's first real experience with another man, they make plans to meet again during their next game in Montreal. To stay hidden, they save each other's numbers under fake female names. But bad weather ruins their plans, leaving them frustrated and disconnected. The tension finally explodes at an awards ceremony where Shane wins Rookie of the Year. Ilia can't handle it. The pressure from his demanding father, a brother who only calls for money, and the reality of the season ending all crash down on him at once. He escapes to the rooftop, drowning in his thoughts. Shane finds him there and lashes out, hurt that Ilia can't simply be happy for him. He doesn't realize Ilia isn't jealous, he's grieving. The season is over, and that means going back to a home life he hates. Ilia tries to kiss Shane, but Shane panics, more afraid of being seen than enjoying the moment. They keep things alive through nonstop texting. The messages get so intense that teammates notice them blushing at their phones. Everyone assumes they're talking to girls. Months later, everything changes. Ilia suffers a devastating loss back in Russia and completely shuts down. He stops replying. When Shane reaches out, Ilia is cold, even cruel. He decides to cut Shane off entirely and focus on hockey. It works. He plays brilliantly, but Shane can barely watch without breaking. He's fully in love now, and it hurts. They meet again at another awards show where they're meant to present together. Ilia acts like nothing ever happened. He smiles, poses for photos, and pretends they're fine. Overwhelmed, Shane escapes to the bathroom, only for Ilia to follow. When Shane demands answers, Ilia bluntly says he doesn't want to talk. He wants Shane. Shane refuses at first, still angry, but later gives in and shows up at Ilia's hotel room. They reconnect easily, but the mood shifts the moment Russia comes up again. Ilia's upcoming trip home kills the energy. The silence grows awkward, and Shane leaves early, blaming a fake appointment. By the time he reaches the elevator, regret hits hard. He almost texts Ilia about not even saying goodbye, but deletes it. He's falling apart. The story widens when we meet Scott Hunter, the legendary captain of the New York Admirals. One day, he stops by a smoothie shop and becomes instantly drawn to Kip, the attendant who recommends a blueberry banana blend. Scott loves it. Kip has no idea who he is, until a fan freaks out moments later. From then on, Kip starts watching hockey just to see Scott play. Scott keeps coming back for that same smoothie, tipping ridiculously well. Kip's friend is convinced Scott is interested. Their connection deepens when Scott invites Kip to a game, even acknowledging him from the ice. Later, Kip runs into Scott again while serving at a dinner party. After an accident with spilled food, Scott invites him out. One thing leads to another. The morning after, Scott opens up completely. He admits he's never wanted someone like this, but says they have to stay hidden until he retires. Their relationship is sweet but fragile. Reality hits hard when Kip invites Scott to an art gallery. Scott panics and runs, terrified of being seen. Kip comforts him, but the secrecy is crushing, especially since he can't even tell his father about his happiness. Kip stays anyway, giving Scott lucky blueberry banana socks that Scott wears to every game. His performance improves, but everything breaks when Kip asks him to come to his birthday party at a gay bar, even just as a friend. Scott can't do it. Scott watches the party from afar, unable to join. Hockey is all he's had since losing his parents at 12, and he can't risk losing it now. Still, he wears the socks, holding on silently. Meanwhile, Shane and Ilia reconnect. They text constantly, and both careers soar, especially Shane's, as he wins 2 championships. They hook up when they can, but distance grows when Ilia heads back to Russia. Shane stays behind with friends who try to set him up with a woman. Everyone notices how obsessed he is with texting Lily and Jane, not realizing those names are Ilia and Shane. Things shift when Ilia asks Shane to stay the night for once. He even shows up with Shane's favorite food, proving how much he's been paying attention. But the moment shatters when Ilia gets a call about his father, whose dementia has worsened. His brother, the paid caregiver, is missing, forcing Ilia to handle it alone. The emotional closeness scares Shane. He realizes this is becoming real and panics. Looking for distraction, he attends a teammate's party and meets Rose, a famous actress. Sparks fly instantly. The internet explodes. When Ilia sees the news, he spirals, physically and emotionally. Rose shows up to Shane's game wearing his jersey, and the media crowns them the new power couple. After another crushing loss, Ilia finally breaks and disappears into a reckless bender, trying to numb everything he's losing. By pure bad luck, Ilia ends up at the same party where Shane is hanging out with Rose and her overly affectionate gay best friend. The energy between Rose and her friend is odd. He's leaning way too close to Shane, touching his arm, laughing a little too hard. It's uncomfortable to watch. Shane eventually slips away from the group, and that's when he spots Ilia across the room. But Ilia, being Ilia, chooses chaos. Instead of coming over, he plants himself at the bar and puts on an exaggerated, messy display with a woman, making sure Shane sees every second of it. Episode 5 turns out to be the most emotional chapter yet. After the disaster of the party, Shane leaves with Rose, but whatever they had fizzles, almost immediately. For the first time, Shane finally admits, to himself and to her, that he's attracted to men. Rose, being genuinely wonderful, offers him nothing but kindness. She promises her friendship and support, knowing he has no one else he feels safe enough to talk to. Things shift again when Shane and Ilia reunite at the All-Star game, where they're forced to play on the same team. Ilia notices Shane's upgraded style and immediately assumes it's for Rose. Shane clears the air, explaining he hired a stylist and is officially single. The tension softens. Later, they end up alone in Ilia's hotel room, finally facing the conversation they've been avoiding. Shane admits the truth, that he ran away last time because he realized this wasn't curiosity. He's gay, and he really cares about Ilia. Ilia struggles to say the same. Coming out would mean losing Russia forever and being rejected by his family. Still, Shane gently pushes, and Ilia finally opens up about his mother. He breaks down, letting Shane hold him in a way he's never allowed before. Then, everything crashes. Ilia suddenly disappears, missing the team's trip to Nevada. Shane panics, calling and texting nonstop. Days later, he learns the truth. Ilia's father has died. Ilia nearly loses control until his old friend Svetlana steps in and calms things down. Ilia does what he feels is right. He gives his brother the apartment and sets up a trust fund for his niece. Svetlana clearly loves him, but she knows she isn't who he wants. She knows Jane is the one he needs, and she knows Jane is a man. Worn down and grieving, Ilia finally calls Shane. He's too overwhelmed to speak English, so Shane tells him to just talk in Russian. What follows is devastating. Ilia confesses his guilt for not being there for his father, his anger at his brother, and, without realizing the safety it gives him, his love for Shane. Shane doesn't understand the words, but he understands the emotion. Back on the ice, Shane gets distracted staring at Ilia and takes a brutal hit going down hard. Ilia's tough exterior cracks instantly. He rushes to check on him and even visits him later in the hospital. Shane, loopy on pain meds, sweetly suggests they spend the holidays together at his cottage. But the real shock comes later that night. With both Shane and Ilia injured, Scott Hunter leads the New York Admirals to victory, and then does the unthinkable. He calls Kip onto the ice, kisses him, and declares his love in front of everyone. Everyone is stunned, including Shane's parents. Scott's courage becomes the exact push Ilia needs. Seeing someone risk everything for love changes him. He finally agrees to the weekend getaway. Episode 6 shifts to the cottage. Shane picks Ilia up in his very boring car, according to Ilia, and they head straight there. Shane tells his parents he's on a silent retreat so no one will bother them. The second they arrive, Ilia is ready to make up for lost time. Shane is stunned by Ilia's intensity. And even more stunned to learn Ilia hasn't been with anyone since their last encounter. Shane admits the same. They promise honesty for the entire stay. Ilia jokes about Shane inheriting his looks from his mom and his personality from his dad. And in that quiet moment, Ilia opens up about finding his mother after she took her own life when he was 12. It's raw and painful, and Shane gives him the safety he never had. The next morning is soft and affectionate, until a call from Hayden interrupts. Ilia deliberately sabotages the call, and Shane pretends to be annoyed, even though he clearly isn't. Shane admits that what started as something reckless has turned into something real. Then Ilia drops a bomb. His Boston contract is ending. He's thinking about marrying Svetlana for citizenship. Shane is crushed and asks why Ilia wouldn't choose someone he actually loves. Ilia quietly answers that it's hard, because he's always thinking about a boring hockey player with freckles. He begs Ilia not to marry her. That night, he barely sleeps. By morning, he has a plan. Ilia signs with a Canadian team in Ottawa. Still rivals, but not sworn enemies. They start a foundation together, giving them a reason to be seen together. They'll apply for citizenship later. Love can wait. Ilia gets so excited he accidentally says, "I love you." He panics, until Shane says it back. Their happiness is interrupted when Shane's dad suddenly shows up, forgetting his charger, and walks in on them kissing. He drives off immediately. The boys follow, terrified. Shane comes out to his parents, but despite the chaos, his parents are surprisingly accepting. Shane's mom admits she always suspected, and apologizes for not making him feel safe sooner. Then she immediately switches to planning mode. Shane reminds her he's not out publicly yet. The season ends with the boys back at the cottage, parents planning another visit. This show wrecked me in the best way. It's tender, sincere, and deeply human. Love like this makes prejudice impossible. I'm ready for 2 more seasons. No hesitation.